Hello, my name is Breven. Will you please do me the honor of introducing yourself and your film?
Hi, yes, my name is Pat Mitchell. I am a self-taught filmmaker. I'm originally from Bronx, New York.
Mhm.
I moved to Florida around a couple, um, probably 14, 15 years ago.
Okay.
But yeah, I did a film called Apples, Oranges, Lemons, and Limes, and it's a film that I did with only $1,200, and
I
it's a
love it.
45-minute film. 45-minute film. Took 5 days to film it entirely, and I did all the post production, all the edits, and everything but the score for the film.
Awesome.
So yeah, I was just trying to make a film that talked about social anxiety and also a film about drinking at a young adult age, because I feel like there's a lot of stigma with a lot of films where
Yeah.
drinking always ends up with some really irresponsible people or some really bad, yeah, some really
Yeah.
bad outcome from it. So I just wanted to put the celebration back in it and
Nice.
not be so overwhelmed with trying to steer it as, the route to evil or something like that. So basically I just wrote a film about some young adults who just got out of college going into got out of high school going into college, and they're celebrating, and one of them don't want to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he actually comes across a girl who he knew from middle school. So
Mhm.
I literally bypassed high school altogether. I feel like people use high school so many times. So I bypassed it altogether, and I just made it. Yeah, so I made a movie about him reconnecting with someone that he had a crush with. He obviously didn't think he'd ever see her again, and they
Mhm.
both happened to be at this party, and he has a second shot at least being impressive and closing, the closure that he has in his head that,
Yeah.
and so a lot of feelings start rushing and stuff like that, and they're all very grown now, different point of view, different perspectives, all very damaged by something that happened to them in the past, and it's nice because I kind of made a movie where it starts off with the party, and then they drink a lot, and then they go out. He asks, or he goes walks her home, but in that course, the alcohol is fading off. So it's a big happy moment, joyous moment, and you get back to reality
Yeah.
each way towards the end of the film. And they both realize that, where things could be worse. And they both actually learn a lot from each other, and they both manage to rekindle some type of spark. Well, she never knew who he was,
Hmm.
but he always knew who she was, and
Yeah.
he went the extra mile to make her feel comfortable. So, but I wanted to make like a heartfelt movie that had every single genre you could think of in any type of like life situation. And I
Yeah.
always think coming of age films should have a little bit of everything in it, because at that age, a little bit of everything happens to you. So I try to
Awesome.
make so I try to make a genre bender sort of film, and it got 171 awards as we speak.
Whoa, what? That's a huge number.
Yeah, yeah,
That's a huge number.
yeah. I'm very proud of myself. I didn't think I could actually accomplish that. Like I never had a goal or a set. And I remember telling people, they're like, "You could win that much." That's like, no one really told me that you couldn't.
Yeah.
So I
There you
just kept
go.
going. Yeah, and so it I think an Africa festival called it a masterpiece. So I'm like
That's
in a weird,
amazing.
yeah, I'm in a weird space right now, but I love every minute of it, and the actors are amazing.
Wow,
Uh,
that is so cool.
yeah, it
I
was
am
great.
so proud of you, Pat. Seriously, this is
Thank you,
huge. These are huge accomplishments.
thank you.
So I want to get a little bit of context before we
Right,
even download that number again in my head. And that is
right,
what had you made previously before this project? And I thank you for your transparency on like the budget and stuff, because that is really helpful for other people to learn. It's important to me, and sort of the skirting around it is always whatever. So thank you. And
yeah,
but had you made other films previously, before jumping into this one? What was your setup for yourself as a filmmaker to make you know that you could do a feature or a novel,
right.
a bigger film?
Right. Well, I did four other shorts before that.
Okay.
A lot of it was very local stuff. But I did get a lot of attention from that locally. And you know, I for the first thing I started, I just grabbed the camera. I started making fake trailers because I
Cool.
always wanted to be a filmmaker. I said, might as well try doing something. I still have them online somewhere.
That's
But
awesome.
yeah, but I made my first film was Shaken. That was like 33 minutes, and it's very, very lowbrow sort of movie about a guy who uh gets dumped by his girlfriend, and he runs to his best friend to figure out what to do. And his best friend happens to be a womanizer who owns a strip club.
Yeah.
So it's it was sort of like a dark comedy, and
Yeah.
the next one was like a political message. I tried to do a documentary.
Hmm.
One time I went to DC and I filmed a bunch of things, but I never was able to put it together.
Okay.
So I made like around 4 or 5 before this one.
Yeah.
One was a very complex sci-fi drama thriller, and people loved it, but it was too much for them. So I decided to write a movie that was a little more straightforward, which is what
This
Alex
is,
Wins on Arms is. Yeah,
yeah.
and yeah, and I just been self-taught. I always been fascinated by films for a very long time, and I think the first script I wrote was a rendition to Batman because I was trying to learn how to write scripts. So it was just what I was doing, and
Yeah.
yeah, and then after a while, it's like I'm kind of getting a little burnt out with the shorts. Like I love them,
Sure.
but there's just so much more I want to put into a film, and
Yeah.
so much more time that I want to sit there and have people watch.
Hmm.
And this one was the first film I actually went. I decided to try to write with an international feel to it,
Hmm.
and I didn't really expect the outcome that it got doing it. Like it's been globally like everywhere. I think I got best screenwriting in Korea.
Amazing.
And
Awesome.
and it's funny because I didn't know I could actually reach so far. And
Mm.
so a lot of me it's just like I'm better than I think I am. And I like to keep it humble, but it's like I have this idea in my head, like, wow, I'm actually better than I perceive myself to be. So I do want to push myself to the limit and try to make a feature film. And I
Cool.
have some I have some written. I have one called Lake O I really want to do, and I've been trying to get the funding and everything for that. And it's very, very tough, but that one is I think that one's gonna be great. But
Amazing.
yeah,
Can you
this
tell me
is
a little
kind
bit
of
about the premise of the next project?
oh yeah, sure. The premise of it, give me 1 second. Let me just
Yeah.
go to mm, I, I have it on top of my head, but I don't want to mess up
No, no, I
saying
love that. I love, yeah.
yeah.
I love the precision.
Yeah. Okay. So the film is called oh, upcoming films. So the film is called Lako. Lako is uh basically on a forced road trip by her on a forced on a road trip by her abusive husband. A young woman encounters new chemistry with a mysterious stranger months after Hurricane Ian. So
Okay.
basically, this movie is a love triangle that consists inside a car for 80 minutes,
Nice.
or for 80% of the film. And
Yeah.
basically, this girl is on a road trip with her husband across Florida to an unknown destination, and she doesn't really want to be there. She doesn't really like the whole idea of it. But her abusive husband, like just tells her like this is what we need, always making decisions for her.
Yeah.
And then one night she actually goes to a bar and she meets this guy. They click off immediately, and she actually has a one night stand with him.
Hmm.
And then she sneaks back to her husband's place, and then they leave, only for their car to run out of gas during this rural area street, and the only person that picks them up is actually the person that she slept with that night.
Okay.
So there's a thriller element, there's a
Yep.
crime element, there's a romance element, there's a
Cool.
psychological thriller stuff. Yeah, and basically
Nice.
it's a road trip movie.
Mhm.
Um, which has a little stops along the way, surprises along the way. There's a cop following them. There's a whole crime story involved.
Yeah.
There's a lot,
That sounds
and
wonderful.
yeah, and it's I think it would be amazing because it takes
Mm.
place with the backdrop of Lake Okeechobee in Florida, which is like wildly undeserved of its size and what it is. And
Yeah.
I wanted to write a crime story that actually takes place within that area and kind of own that like location.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, cinematically, no one's ever done it before.
Mhm.
So that's kind of like my goal to that film. And
Awesome.
I do have a scorist that I always work with.
Hmm.
and I also have a producer that I always work with.
Cool.
And that script is actually 95 pages, and it's actually about abusive relationships. And
Mhm.
my biggest goal for that film is, you watch a lot of these spousal abuse films, and they tend to victim blame. They tend to say the woman should have known better. She should
Mhm.
get out of the relationship. It's always the woman that has to actually move forward and make a choice.
Mhm. Oh, Pat, you froze on me. I'm gonna pause it.
Male.
Oh,
Yeah.
hold on back in.
Okay.
It's probably just my tech. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. No, basically, you watch a lot of those movies that talk about spousal abuse. They
Mhm.
always tend to victim blame, and it's the woman that has to make the decision,
Mhm.
and it's the woman that has to make the tough choices. It's the woman that has to like leave and uphold her whole life because this one guy's being abusive. And one day I was like, this is really a bad message for a lot of the whole message that abusive men will always be the same.
Mhm.
Um, and I can imagine there's probably a lot of men on there that wants to change, and I can imagine like even young kids watching these movies where they can do anything to women and it's always a woman's fault. And
Mm.
I just told myself I really want to make a movie that kind of changes that narrative a little bit, where we put the blame back on the male, and
Yeah.
it really is a destination where he actually does do a drastic change,
Mhm.
and the girl doesn't have to change who she is, because of the sake of one guy being abusive. So let's just put it back on the men. Let's put it back where it belongs.
Mm.
Let's stop tormenting women about their choices and start tormenting men about their choices towards women. No, because I see it all the time,
I
and
hear
it's
you.
just, yeah, and and I watch these like Lifetime movies where she's like going through hell, and her friends are like, "You need to get out of all this stuff." And it's like, well, no one's talking to the guy the whole movie. They
Yeah.
just let him do what he does, and I just wanted to see if it helps, like
Okay.
that conflict that we have today with
Yeah.
abuse, and just try to teach people cinematically like men can change, men can be different,
Yeah.
and the woman is not always the one to blame if they're in a relationship that they don't like. If they love somebody, they love somebody. If the
Yeah.
person that they love is treating them badly,
Yeah.
and that's just what it is. So I'm trying to make a movie about that.
I mean, I think that's beautiful, right? You're talking about perspectives, and
Yes.
we can never have enough perspective
Right.
to learn from one another and to gain insights into other people's experiences. So it takes storytellers, right, to be able
Mhm.
to share other perspectives so that we can begin to see and think differently and rethink ideas that we may didn't even biases we didn't even realize we had, right?
Right. Right.
So I am excited for you to continue pushing your storytelling, right? And clearly your gift in filmmaking to, like you said, like pushing you past what you even thought you could do.
Yes.
So where are you? Where are you in the process with that? You mentioned fundraising, but kind of where are you in the stages of development?
Basically, I got all the necessary contacts that I need. I
Mhm.
have the locations. I made a budget sheet for
Mhm.
that film, a couple budgets. And I have the script written. I have several other production houses. One of my friends has a production. He said he'll come down here and help me make it. But as far as I go, what I do have is just the necessary tools to plan it.
Yeah.
But I didn't do casting yet, or go on with the scheduling. But I do have the days of scheduling,
Yeah.
and all that stuff, all that paperwork stuff written
Yeah,
out.
no, it's important. Like those
Yeah,
logistics are
yeah,
important. Yeah.
yeah. So that's basically where I am with that right now.
Excellent. Well, that is very exciting. I hope you will please keep me posted on how that comes together and what it's looking like for you. And if we can champion in any way, right? We want to know how to do that. Um, so I have a couple questions for my research, if you don't mind.
Sure.
And the first is I can glean some thoughts about it based on things you've already shared, but I'm interested to know, what does creative career success look like to you personally? And I preface that saying I don't have any notion leading into this of what success is, right? I don't have a definition of it that is singular for everyone. But
Right.
for you, what does that look like and how are you working towards that goal?
Okay. Well, yeah, a lot of people, like, success for me is usually making a mark um where you wanted to, is basically leaving change where you kind of aimed for.
Hmm.
So yeah, so my last film, Apples, Oranges, and Limes, like the biggest success that I had was, I had new actors in that film.
Hmm.
They're all brand new actors. They never had lead roles before.
Hmm.
And I kept telling myself it would be so cool to have them win something internationally, worldwide, and like
Mm.
strive for that. And yeah, the main actress had 11 awards.
Wow.
The main actor had 12 awards.
Wow.
The supporting actress had 7, and
Holy cow.
the supporting actor had 5. So like
Incredible.
it was a goal for me to not just make a movie that makes an impact to someone, but make an impact to the people that was in it, and as soon as it made a movie, they like darted to LA because they have all this new like faith in them, which is really, really great. And I
That's
love doing that.
beautiful.
Yeah.
You
And
empowered others.
yes, that's always the main goal, really.
I love that. That's beautiful. That resonates with me for sure. It's what I want to support creators, right? That is my passion. That is my purpose. And so that's
Right.
why I do the research as well. How do I support creators more effectively so they can go and do the work, which is the art, which is what I believe has the most power. Um,
Right.
and so on that, uh, I love your answer. Would you share maybe some insights, especially with as much kind of festival traction as you've had lately? How can we, as an arts organization, myself as like a small festival leader, how can we do better to support you within our capacity?
Um, yeah, the one thing that I always kind of get lost in with film festivals, the networking always seems so not mundane, but like they throw everybody in one room and then you start like talking. Um, which I never really thought was like the most beneficial way, because everybody's looking for a type of person or
Mm.
someone that they're looking for, and it really sucks to see like you're in a room full of 500 people. You're like, well, I need to find producers and actors, and then you end up like having conversations with people, and it's always really short, really quick.
Yeah.
But I would love to see a festival one day just have like like a kind of like name tags that actually tell you what the capacity of a filmmaker they are, or something that actually indicates who they are before you make a conversation with them. It's
Okay.
always very awkward to talk to somebody and then they're not exactly what you're looking for. I like to network with everybody, but
Sure, sure. No, I hear you.
it really to try to figure out who's who in conversations that kind of go haywire because
Yeah.
everybody starts talking about something else.
Yeah.
The networking always feels like a social thing rather than a business thing.
Yep.
And I do like the social stuff, but one day I like to go in and people want to talk about business stuff, what they're doing next, where they're going.
Yep.
And it's never been like the forefront when I go to a networking event. So
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that because we are always trying to figure out how to do and provide better networking tools, resources, activities. And we don't claim to have gotten anything right per se, but we're always iterating different ways to try things um, to see if it's more effective. Because I would say on some level, if we've ever had success, right, in the same way, kind of I'm asking you, it's been
mhm.
that creators have met each other and then gone and make work together.
Right, right.
So how do I sort of keep building on that? And what were those positive connections? How were they made? Where were they made? How can we continue to create that kind of space so it can continue to happen?
Right, 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 right.
So we're learning and growing always.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's I enjoy every networking event. It's just
Yeah,
sometimes you walk away realizing I didn't really meet
I know.
anybody that's gonna help me. And it just happens. Like I went to Chicago and I did a festival in Chicago and
Yeah.
it was great. And I got to network, I got to meet with a lot of people. But we tend to not talk about projects. We tend to talk about like, bigger projects someone did or some like social sort of like fab that came up, or
Yeah.
it's never been a discussion about filmmaking, just like building a repertoire, which is great, but I
Hmm.
always wanted to go like right into the detail, because
Yeah.
we never have enough time. You just never have
Yeah.
enough time to talk to people.
True.
So yeah.
No, it's absolutely true. Um, And so I literally looked over at the clock because it's true. Like we there's never
Yeah.
enough time, right?
Right. Yeah.
Um, Pat, will you please continue to keep in touch?
Okay.
Share more about the work that you're making. And please, if I can be a resource in any way, I want to do that. I want to be that. I want to get better at it. So I appreciate your time and your feedback and your wisdom and your insights. And I congratulate you on how amazing your project is doing in the world.
Thank you. Thank
Please
you.
keep me posted, and I'm really excited to hear about the next project as well. So however I can be a support or a champion, please know that I'm here.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
I see you and I see what you're doing. It's very impressive, friend.
Thank you.
All right. I'll
All
talk
right.
to you later.
Talk to you later.
Bye.